Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mass Timber Construction in Nigeria, a series of webinars. And today is the 6th of October, 2023. You're welcome this afternoon. Thank you so much for taking up time out of your busy schedules to join us and to learn with us. Today, we are going to be looking at opportunities for mass timber in Nigeria. And we have invited experts in the field of mass timber to speak with us and to enlighten us, about whatever is available. Before I introduce the speakers, I would like for us to do a little bit of housekeeping, because I'm sure our speakers are yet to jump into their presentations. I would like to implore all participants to mute themselves so that the presentations are not disturbed. We would encourage that you not only mute yourselves, but please turn off your videos. I would also require that participants register their presence in the chat box, write your name, write your email address, because we will be sending you certificates of participation much later. Should you have any questions, kindly write these questions in the chat box as well, so that we can pass this on to the speakers when it's time for the question and answer session. For our topic today, we have invited 3 speakers, but unfortunately, only 2 of them will be presenting today because the 3rd person fell ill. And with us today, we have Engineer Muhannad Zugaya and Dr. Sean Robella. The sequence of presentations will be Engineer Muhannad presenting first. And if you don't mind, with your indulgence, I would like to introduce now Engineer Muhannad, who is Engineer Muhammad has a master's degree in civil engineering from the University of Bologna in Italy. And it has 10 years of cognate experience in timber construction. On his first CLT, that's cross-laminated timber project, which was located in Qatar in the Middle East, he worked as a technical engineer. Engineer Muhannad Zugaya is very passionate about mass timber, and he currently works as a regional sales manager for Rother Glass Company. He's in charge of the Middle East, the North and the West Africa regions. Muhannad has a lot of experience in supporting and providing solutions for local companies in the region in the area of the mass timber. And having witnessed and having engaged in the development of this sector in all of these countries, is very, very capable to advise and support in the development of the mass timber in construction. So without further ado, I would like to invite Engineer Muhannad Zugaya to make his presentation. Thank you very much. Sorry, just a minute. I will again remind everybody to put your questions in the chat box so that we can pick them up and so that you don't forget them as the presentations go on. Thank you very much again. You are welcome. Muhannad, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you for having me as one of the speaker. First, I just would like to make sure that do you see my slides?
Yes, the slide is on.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much. My name is Muhannad Zugair. I'm the regional sales manager for Rotoplas company. 7 years now working with Rotoplas for a new market, which is Middle East, North Africa, and the newest one that now currently working on is West and Central Africa that I'm in charge of. Here I'm going to present now the opportunities and how the market will be in Nigeria and what we are expecting. First of all, we will go through Rotoplas company and the activities that we are doing in Nigeria. Nigeria market for us, it's now 2 years old market. I have been in Nigeria 2 times, and I look forward to come and visit more during the coming months. Second, we'll talk about the mass timber around the world, durability, and with giving some real examples regarding this durability topic in the hot climate or tropical climate region. Then we will mention a little bit about the connection and the fixation system, fire performance as well in connections, and sealants and membrane. With some examples, the one is ongoing or done, or also according to our information, coming projects in Nigeria. Well, starting with Rotoplas company, it's a company with 33 years of working experience in mass timber sector. We have worldwide subsidiaries. Our actions and our work is being close to the market. The last subsidiaries we opened in Africa was the last year in Morocco, and we are planning to open next one in UAE market. We have a different locations with subsidiaries and with warehouses as our strategy being close to the market and supporting architects, engineers, and contractors. 33 years old, we develop, we don't only sell as a material, however, we do sell as well solutions from starting with machines and tools for carpenters, then implementing or including in our range fasteners, connections, membranes. In 2006, we went international. From Italy, where we are based, which is north of Italy, the Alps region, where is the knowledge of mass timber technology started, and our developing was ongoing with the development of the sectors. Our lines, we are working on 5 main lines, which are the fasteners, the sealants, soundproofing, fall protection, and tools. We have more than 20 different languages, depends on the market, a lot of certificates, technical information, research, handbooks to support the markets. Our products, mentioning that we don't sell the timber. We don't sell the glulam or the CLT. We collaborate with companies and engineers who build in the CLT, and we support them, where you can find our materials in the big buildings as well as in timber frame building system, for example. And we have solutions for outdoor exterior, especially decking and cladding, pergolas, or related to timber work. Currently, we are 300 salesmen worldwide. We look forward to be in 2030 600 salesmen, to be close to the customers and support them locally. We do also promoting the mass timber, where we have a special line for educational purposes, which is called Roto School, where we make a lot of courses, even webinars online, local in the market, or even we go to collaborating with university. Last one was in Dubai last month, where we collaborate with university and we present a a course of 5-6 hours, and it was very successful. As well with the research and university, main topics in the mass timber, we talk about the durability, fire resistance, energy, and the renovations. Support, as I mentioned, we do support locally. In case of the customer needed help, we go to the construction site, we educate carpenters, we teach people how to use our materials, as well as we have a full team of engineers, 20 engineers just in the technical office in the headquarters, replying and answering questions from structural engineer, from architects, what is the best way to use or to build in a mass timber. Talking different topic here, this is a very nice map where I always like to share it, where is the route of the CLT supplying worldwide, where we can see mainly coming from Europe and also North America, and it reached to the Far East Asia. From this map, I see its material is not passing Africa, which is currently the situation, unfortunately. However, this definitely will be changing. Checking the how close is Nigeria, Lagos port from Geneva here as an example. I was surprised it is 18 days, 20 days. However, where we did the projects in the Middle East, it used to take port to port 25 or 30 days for delivery. So as well, seeing Nigeria's market is very close to where is the material, as well as knowing that is currently Nigeria is working in forest management, and this topic, this is something is very interesting to consider. The developing of the mass timber worldwide, especially in the after 2020, we see the exponential increment of using the mass timber and implementing it as building materials with steel and concrete. So we do believe this sector will go further and further more as a percentage of using. Starting here with a topic that I would like to share as well, and the concern related to this topic, the durability of the mass timber regarding hot climate weather, for example, that is material made. I hear a lot of the feedback, this material only can be used in Europe. Where is the snow? Where is the rain? It is very hot weather, we cannot use timber. Starting, I would like to start with the principle of building physics. What things that we study during building, as from the architect's point of view, which is the temperature, the air inside the building, the vapor generated. What is the temperature that is the human being need to feel comfortable sitting inside the building, which is, for example, from 20 to 27. So there are many factors here that affects the building envelope, which are the external factor, as mentioned, temperature, wind, rain, water, vapor, or wood worms, and how we can protect our building, what material that we need to use to make it more resistant and durable, as well as thermal comfort. Other things that is also consider having all these environments effects on the envelope of the building. We reach to our building affected in superficial condensations and interstitial condensation. Both of them harms. The superficial condensation harms the health, whereas especially during the winter, where we start maybe in some corners of our room or around the windows where the mold started, you start smelling gases that will affects our health. And the one that is related to the structure that we don't see, unfortunately, and how we should consider it during the design phase. Both. This is an example of superficial condensations around windows, around the corners of the room. The damage that is we are worried about more, which is that we don't see during the building life that is coming inside the structure of our building, and this is something that we do want to avoid. So we need to make our buildings air tightness and wind tight, and having it our building tight basically for the main reason is to reduce the energy loss, to make a good ventilation system, to allow the vapor leave the building, to doesn't allow the leak of water where we live. So this is topic that is also needs to be considered in the mass timber. When we are talking about tightness, here we talk about air tightness layers as well as the wind tightness layer. Both of them are important, with different from the location where we build. So for example, if we build in Europe where there are a lot of snows, we need to make more consideration for certain layers. Let's say if we are building in a tropical area or warm area, different layer also could be considered. However, it is very important that is we don't allow the vapor to go from inside to our structures, in the same time to allow it to go out of our structure. Also, on the other hand, the wind tight, that is, we don't want to be sitting inside the room and feel the air leakage going around, which is the vapor diffusion and condensations that happening during the building life, and important to consider. Here, an example of bridge, small corners for the window and for the doors, or with the slabs also needs to be considered the small details. How to do it, or how to make sure that is our building are correctly airtight and wind-tight. There are two different type of membrane that is we propose, the microporous membrane and monolithic membrane, and each one has a specification, depends on the application where it is, and depends on the timing of installation. Is it for the wall? Is it for the roof? These small details also is very important to consider. Here an example of roofing material. So we put a breathable membrane outside with a gap, for example, of 5 or 8 centimeters to allow the ventilation. So having our roof, having our walls are important to have a ventilation, as well as having a membrane to allow the vapor to leave our structures. Also, other important to consider what is the mass per unit area, the climate zone, the UV exposition, for example, how long my membrane will be exposed outside before I make I cover it. Do I have a fire requirement? So I need to use a certain type of membranes that we will see after. All this, there are wide range of material that can be considered. It depends on the architect's specifications and requirement, and each one has its application and location. Talking about membrane also as well, we need a tape to join the membrane, to close the gap. The thing is, in mass timber, that is, we put wood on wood, and there will be always a gap for air leakage, for example. So how to seal this connection or this joint together? We need also to consider type of the tapes, and what is the viscosity, and how it will be cohesions with the structure, the adhesive, the stability over time. All this also to be considered, the durability as well. This is an example when we are talking about mass timber. It's not only structural, however, it's very important to protect the structure of the mass timber, and there are materials allows you to protect and to keep your structure durable for the lifetime design. Type of sealants to closing joints and openings. One of also the important topic, the capillarity that has the water. So how to avoid capillarity when we put our timber on the concrete. In the past, we see people, they know it and they are using it by increase the height of the building where they live from the ground because of the water. And currently we have another solutions now, which is millimeters that can protect your buildings from the foundation. And it doesn't allow the water to go inside the wood. So you avoid the condensation, and you avoid the mold that would create in your structures. Here is a very interesting topic, a very interesting test that is, we did it with a software called Woofy, where we study stratigraphy of a wall in Nigeria, in a tropical area. So the concern of that is the timber is not for warm weather. It doesn't work in a hot climate. With this example, we will see that it is fit and made to be built in warm climate. We did this stratigraphy on the software. We put the transfer outside. We put insulation, as well as we put 16 centimeter of CLT. You will be surprised about, firstly, the U value that achieved with this section of wall, 30 centimeter. We are able to achieve 0.2 U value. Which is, if you want to achieve 0.2 in the concrete, for example, or in a steel structure, what would be the section of the insulation? What would be the section of the wall? So here it's an evidence. It is a light structure. It is a smaller sizes in terms of structures. We consider, we didn't find Lagos as a region. The closest area was Ghana, Accra, considering the temperature and the humidity, which is considered a very high, as well as in Nigeria, where I was there. There are a humid weather, especially in Lagos. More or less, West Africa has the same tropical, has the same climate. And we can see here during the coming years, what is the percentage of moisture content inside the structure or inside of the CLT, which is between 11 and 12%. That is made it perfect for the weather. The concern is when we have a lot of snow, when we have a lot of rain. Here we start to concern, we start covering our material more, we start putting more sealants, more membranes, a very expensive membrane. But with the weather of what we have it in Nigeria or in West Africa, and the same result in the Middle East, it's made it very clear that the moisture content for the wood will not pass. If the detail was made correctly, it wouldn't pass a very high percentage, let's say 20 or 22 for a very long time. Our weather are humid, but still it is a dry weather. How to consider the sealant with the fixation system as well. This is an example, real example here, when we use the hold down and fixation system. For this topic, said, okay, maybe I would like also to share a real example where it is durability and the light structure for one project that is done in Qatar in 2006, where I work as a technical engineer in that project. It is over water buildings. All the buildings was installed on piles. The advantages of this was a light structure, much less number of piles needed to build it at the time. There are bungalows and big restaurants with the decking all over water. So here we were worried at the time what would be the humidity, how is the we put insulation and bitumes like everywhere in order to protect the wood. The knowledge 9 years was not really high in terms of the performance of the buildings. However, after what we saw is that our customer is doing the annual inspection, and the moisture content for the wood over water, it was 11, 10, 12. So this is also a real evidence how is the performance for the timber construction in the dry climate or in tropical area. In this, not in the same area, but it's like 5 kilometers in the Corniche in Doha, in the almost the same area, let's say. There was also a fish market where is the built over water, the same condition, and it was built by steel structure. The result was, I mean, as you see in the photo, how the corrosion, what is the maintenance? I was imagining it's like, what is the maintenance that it will be needed after, how to maintain this steel structure over water. So it was using a glue lamp above water. It was a very successful solution compared to other material. Here, another topic that is also now I would like to mention is that is the fixation systems. We know how to design. We talk about timber, fire, the handling, logistic, but how to fix the material, how to fix the timber together, how to build multi-story building with timber. Type of structure here, even we are talking about heavy timber frame buildings, or we are talking about timber wall building, as other speakers who's following was the mentioning and having a lot of references in this topic. Here I would like to highlight that is the timber, it's a brittle material, and the building need ductility, and the ductility, the way of bring ductility to your building when you build in timber is through the fixation system, through the screws, through the connections. Doing different tests and see how ductile the structure in the joint and connections needed to be. Collaboration with university and research development institutions. Things to be considered as well, the designer, which is the horizontal forces, the wind and earthquake. Okay, you have X wind load, you have this amount of earthquake. How do you need, how you should or have to design your building, where to put your angle brackets, what is the application of each different angle brackets to be used. There are variant options, different options depends on the applications. Here an example, which is the very important, that we have the wall arriving container, because of the limitation is 2.5 or 4 meter regardless, and we need to joint our wall to make it act and perform as a one piece to resist the load for the wind. There are brackets, especially to verify the traction load or the wind load or the earthquake load, as well as there are brackets for making the to resist the shear force. With having these brackets and its specifications, different sizes, different shapes, with the specification how many kilonewton, the structural engineer can easily consider like, okay, we have this piece of wall, we need 2 hold down, we need 4 5 shear, and he can make the verification easily according, for example, to the Euro code. Which is something else beside the bracket is the screws. There are 2 types of screw: fully thread, partially thread screws. Screws to fix timber to timber, screws to fix steel to timber, or panel to timber. How to add ductility in my wall, for example, in case I need to have a ductile joint, I could use, for example, the partially thread screw in this location with these distances that gives me the ductility. If I want to consider make a rigid connection, then I go to a full thread screw and apply it, for example, 45 degree to make the buildings or to make the connection rigid. And here easily it can be decided during the calculations. Different way of fixation depends on the engineer what to decide, rigid or ductile connections. Angle bracket to resist the shear load and the traction forces. Also, as well, it has a certain percentage from our catalog can easily pick the how many nails, how many screws, what is the value, what is the characteristics value that our brackets can resist. For, of course, all provided with the ETA certificates. Here an example: big brackets fixed with steel big head screw that connect steel with timber, with the sealants around for air tightness. Another here also I would like to mention the hybrid structure. The moving the market, talking with the companies and engineers and especially contractors who build in concrete and steel. It's like, hey, Muhannad, do you want to close our business? Do you want to you want to replace concrete with timber? They stop listening. They thought that is like we are bringing something new to the market, or we are explaining something new. However, it's not the situation. Timber construction or mass timber, it is not to replace steel and concrete. Steel will be there, concrete will be there. It's only about having the advantages of the mass timber, mix it or with collaboration or using with the steel structure, or and make a hybrid structure, which is you can do it as well. So you are taking advantage of the mass timber, you can take advantage of the steel structure, as well as you can take advantages of the concrete structure. And there are solutions how to fix each element with the different. So the movement now, which I see recently in the market, it's more for the hybrid structure. No, the steel is good, concrete is good, but how to mix it together, how to take advantage of the timber, of the timber. Here, Rotoplas start developing a special screw fixation for the timber, to fix the timber with the steel as well as concrete with the steel. When we start talking about a multi-story building, we found out there is a problem, which is the bunching shear for the high load of column inside the CLT slab. So what is the solution for this? We developed something called a product called a spider, where you can connect the glulam column with the CLT slab for different story building, or even connected with the steel structure. It is basically the same concept. It is to transfer the high load directly to the ground through the column, and not putting the whole load in the slab. Similar concept for a concrete structure, where they increase the reinforcement around the columns. Here we have this spider that transfer the load directly from top to down and allows you to build multi-story building. Also, using concrete, which is we see it started, I mean, we see it a lot, that is concrete for resisting the horizontal load, and they make all over the CLT, for example, slabs. So in this case, taking advantages, reducing the weight of the buildings. Yes, it can be worked. You can cast concrete. One of the topic is like, what is the finishing? What is the finishing for the buildings? The finishing can be whatever you want. Do you want it tiles? Do you want it parquet? Do you want it gypsum board? You have the option to have the finishing that you prefer, because there are solutions how to joint two different building material connections to connect the slab with concrete, or glue lamp beam with concrete. We have the LOC, for example, steel with a glue lamp beam. There are UV concrete. Also, if the time allow me, the fire performance, it's a concern. And always when we're talking about mass timber construction, directly one of the main topic is the fire requirement. What is the fire requirement? Depends on the building type. It is a hospital, is it a school, it is a private, it is a house. This is something to be decided from the authorities. What is the building? What is the fire requirement? The structure, the engineer can decide it during design phase. What is the structural resistant for the structure? But what comes after, it's important, as well as the structural fire resistant, the material that we are going to use with our building. Here an example. I like these photos because of the wood is still there. It did not collapse. Yes, the fire we say eat the glue lamp, but still it is stand and it did not collapse. The joints, I mean the fixation systems appear. Another example as well for fire for a timber structure, where is still the building in a place. Here things to consider. I always ask, it's like sometimes an engineer talk to the architects, when you want to increase the fire resistance for your steel beam, for example, do you sometimes cover it with a wood panel? Said yes, sometimes to increase the fire resistance for my steel, I cover it with the wood. So the wood itself, it is a fire, it has a fire performance and resistance, where it can be calculated. Like I need 30 minutes, I need 60 minutes, I need 90 minutes. I can decide it during my design. This is an example. I was driving somewhere in the market, where I see a steel buildings, a market collapse in a very sad way, and I thought, what would be if this was built in timber? The behavior here, it's clearly a steel structure is a ductile material. When it collapses, it's, let's say it's the other buildings part follow. Is the different behavior of collapsing, I would say, with a mass timber fixation system. What do we consider when we have fire requirement? Very simple. We increase the section of the beam. We increase the section of the CLT. We make sure that our connections embedded inside the timber. Different material as well for membrane and sealants, barriers if we have fire requirements. Breathable membrane as well certified if we have fire requirements, covering the connections, hiding it inside the wood, foams, special foams, as well as membrane. To this level, sometimes it's needed to cover the screw head, for example, in order to prevent the fire to reach to the connection. Here, I almost done. Example of fast installation. It was in the World Cup, before the World Cup, in 3 months. It was July, where containers start arriving, and the customer need to finish it before the World Cup. The date was October 2020 to give everything. It is many villas, spa, cafe needed to be built, and all built in timber construction. I was inside when containers start arriving, and the speed of installation was surprising. To be honest, it was like, wow, the container arrived the same day, next day it is in the location where it has to be. And the next container is coming, the same thing is installed. Finishing inside, this is like a lot of, when we talk about the timber construction, oh, will I see the timber? No, you will not. You can see the timber, but most of the time they close it with gypsum board. Here, a very Ocean City project is very interesting and over water and on the man-made island. I'm sure all of you are aware of it, and I hear about it a lot when I was there. So advantage, consider, I would say, the opportunity to build it in such a very beautiful project. The mass timber has a high and big potential to implement here in this, specifically in this project. There are residential spaces, a sport stadium. It's very, very interesting to be implement at least the mass timber because of the specification of the advantages. I would say fast installation, a light structure, easy to deliver. I met once an architect where they go there with a boat every day to build or to have meetings there. So this part of Lagos, it's very interesting to be used the mass timber, where here also fast installation, showing the rendering, the design, the drawing, and the real construction site. In the same situation, almost where is the Ocean City are. Here also inside the building where this is me, where I was talking to my technical engineer reference in Rotoplas, having consultation inside for the slope of the roof top, what type of the material. Here, very interesting photos where surprisingly the material arrived and the foundation was not ready. So yes, there was a solution where the guys start doing pre-assembling inside near the foundation and easily install the buildings. Currently in the Middle East, if you may hear about the Red Sea development, a lot of timber building, it's overseas or near the sea, where they should not have cast or put a lot of concrete. Another example, when I was reading and see this project, Ocean City, I saw the stadium there, and I remember directly the stadium in the UK where will almost look the same. And it was the first football stadium built in timber and glulam. So there are many projects I believe in Nigeria where taking advantage of mass timber and implement it in the market. From the architects where they can make their design, for structural engineers where they can make their calculation and verifications, as well as for the developer where he or she can consider the lifetime of their building. It's not only building it and sell it or renting it. No, there are also to maintain it, which comes after. Always they don't consider them during construction, which is the maintenance. As we see in the fish market, maintaining a steel structure over water, it's much more costly maintaining a glulam over water, for example. Well, we always say more wood, less CO2, and thank you so much for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Engineer Muhammad Zugaya. That was so interesting. And to even know that other people in Nigeria are considering, projects in Nigeria are already considering using mass timber. Thank you so much. We will be having questions for you later in the presentation. And then I hope you will be, we'll have enough time to take all the questions. We will quickly move on to our next presenter. He is Dr. Shaw Grobela, and he is a senior lecturer with the Department of Engineering and Technology Management at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. Dr. Grobela specializes in technology, innovation, and risk management. Before joining the university in the year 2020, he had spent 13 years in the industry, 10 of which years were at York Timbers. He currently chairs the York Timbers in wood structural engineering for the sustainable built environment and African bioeconomy at the University of Pretoria. The chair is a strategic partnership to establish a multidisciplinary program focused on promoting and adopting structural wood products within the context of a sustainable timber-based built environment and the wood-based bioeconomy in South Africa. The chair seeks to continuously increase the competitiveness, the value creation, cost efficiency, and sustainability of the South African and African structural wood industry. The aim is to grow South Africa's local and international structural wood networks and become a knowledge and thought leader within these networks. He also leads a feasibility study for the South African Department of Trade, Industry, and Competition to promote timber construction in South Africa. You're most welcome, Dr. Shaw Grobela. You can carry on with your presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that introduction. And then also thank you very much for the opportunity to present the progress that we've made. So the presentation that I'll be sharing will predominantly focus on the approach that we've taken in South Africa, but I hope that a lot of it will be applicable to West Africa and also the rest of Africa, and that it will enable various opportunities for timber construction in Africa. The first thing that I would like to point out is this theme that we've developed as part of the feasibility study for the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition in South Africa. The theme is growing timber connections, and it's got this tree shape in the background. And this idea that we had when we developed this theme is firstly that we associate trees with something that is growing, but also our aim is to grow the timber construction industry. So there's alignment in terms of those aspects. And then the second thing is the connections. In any timber building, the connections are critical, and it has a significant influence in the size of the structure that you can put together. And then also in social networks, the connections between people are critical to promote timber construction. So we thought it was quite appropriate to adopt this theme. Then, as introduced, I'm representing two entities. The first is the University of Pretoria, where I'm a senior lecturer. And the second is via Enterprises University of Pretoria. We are contracted to perform a feasibility study for the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition at South Africa. What I'll quickly discuss is firstly the objectives that we've identified, and then the two programs that I'm leading. I'll then discuss the approach that we've taken and the progress that we've made. I like to start with this slide. This is based on some research that we've done. we've done a comparison in terms of youth utilization in South Africa compared to other countries. So we calculated what the ratio of sawn with usage per capita is for various countries. And we calculated what the ratio is compared to South Africa. So this is not, let's say, 1 cubic meter per person, but that is the base case is South Africa. And what we looked at is, for example, Canada is using almost 15 times as much timber per person than what we are using in South Africa. And that is quite common across Europe, Australasia, and the USA. And our objective is to see how we can increase this graph so that the wood utilization in South Africa increases. That's among other what we want to achieve. So in short, the objective is to stimulate the development of a sustainable mass engineered timber construction industry in South Africa and the African continent, based on advanced engineered wood products from locally grown forest plantations. This is what is included in the memorandum of an understanding between the University of Pretoria and York Timbers. So when this was developed in 2020, we already identified that we want to play a bigger role in Africa as a whole, but that it's important that we consider local context and especially the locally grown resource. This is just shortly showing the two programs that I'm involved with. It's firstly the York Timbers Chair at the University of Pretoria. We've also started to incorporate SAFCL and Merensky. And then I'm also leading the DTIC feasibility study. And because the objectives of the two programs are very similar, there is some overlap between the programs. In the presentation, I'm not going to specify this action is associated with this program, because many of the actions that we've implemented is supported by both programs. Then going on to the approach that we've taken, one of the key concepts that we've adopted is what's called open innovation. And to describe what open innovation is, historically, there was a strong idea that if you wanted to develop new innovations, for example, in an organization, then you should focus on internal capacity. For example, researchers internally and equipment that you've acquired internally. But in 2003, Chesbro developed this open innovation approach where he said that the best people to innovate in your industry or your organization is not necessarily employed by your organization. And if you are not using them to your advantage, you are losing a lot of potential. So he argued that one should take an open innovation approach where you partner with external parties from your organization and see how you can leverage that to your benefit and potentially develop new markets. So we've adopted this approach to look at what knowledge and expertise and capacity there is outside of the university that we can leverage to our benefit. And I'll give a couple of practical examples later. The other approach that we took is what's called the minimum viable product. This approach also looked at how products were developed historically. And historically, the idea was to spend a lot of time on engineering and preparation, and then building this product and then trying to sell it. Whereas the minimum viable product approach is to test with something, start testing something small to confirm whether your assumptions of this product or innovation is correct, whether the market really wants that innovation, and whether you need to make some modifications. So it's very strong in prototyping and testing before expanding the innovation. And we've also adopted this approach, and not just specific products, but also in our education and networking and marketing actions that we've taken. We've started small, see how it works, test our assumptions, and then expanded on it. Another model that we considered is the 70-20-10 model that was developed by Jennings in 2013. And he argued that 70% of what we learn is based on practical experience. 20% is based on what we learn from our social networks, and in other words, our friends. And then only 10% is what we learn through structured courses and programs. And taking this into consideration, we realized that if we want to promote timber construction, we would have to incorporate practical training courses for the students or other parties. Then we also feel very strong on the application of frugal innovation. Frugal innovation is a concept which focuses on the, let's call it the bottom pyramid, or the developing nations in the world, and how to adopt innovations in these countries. And the idea is that you focus on simplicity, affordability, and functionality. So historically, the idea was to copy and paste what is available in the developed world. But if you take a frugal innovation approach, it's very important to consider a local context, keep the local people involved in the development process, and also consider what is the real critical parts of this innovation and focus on that. And that will hopefully improve innovation and adoption in those countries. An example of frugal innovation and open innovation is the WikiHouse concept. I strongly recommend that if you're not familiar with this approach, that you go read about it a bit. So we are, for example, very keen on testing similar concepts in South Africa. The other theory that we felt strong on adopting is what's called the diffusion of innovations. So whenever we look at how we want to promote timber construction in South Africa, we benchmark it against the assumptions in this theory. And one of the assumptions in this theory is that the adoption of a new innovation is much more a social process than a technical process. So if we want to promote timber construction in South Africa, we need to look at what are the social aspects that influence adoption, and not just on the technical aspects. We also need to look at how networks work, because people are strongly influenced by specific agents in a network. And if we can identify who those influential people are or companies are, and we can convince them to use timber, then the likelihood of them influencing their networks increases, and then the whole network can grow. We also feel very strong about this FOMO effect, which was coined in 2004, or the fear of missing out. So basically what we want to do is we want to illustrate how much fun it's building with timber, and that if you're not part of that, then you're going to miss out. So we try to make it fun to work with timber. A couple of other approaches that we are taking is the whole idea of success breeding success. So we try to start with small wins, build on these small wins, then promote the wins so that people are aware of what we've achieved, increase the collaboration, in other words, get more people to win together with us. We also evaluate the effort versus reward. In some cases, some of the activities is not worthwhile, and then we decide to discontinue them. But the ones that are worthwhile, we continue with them. And then we are also cognizant of the fact that the future is inherently uncertain, and it's very difficult for us to predict exactly what the best path is to take to promote timber construction. So we're taking an approach of let's test, let's see what happens, and then reevaluate and take next steps. And then we take this approach again. So some of the progress that we've made is we've been fortunate enough to appoint an intern that's a qualified architect, focusing on timber construction at University of Pretoria. We've also appointed a full-time architect focusing only on timber construction at the University of Pretoria. So Mr. Christo van der Hoeven will do his research will be only on timber construction, and his classes that he will be presenting will also be exclusively on timber construction. We've also gathered a group of civil engineers at the University of Pretoria, which includes Professor Chris Roth, Dr. Sarah Skorpen, and Dr. Johan van der Merwe, that works together as a group to look at how can we educate, which projects can we take, and which research projects can we take on to promote timber construction. Many of the architects has also been part of various activities that we've taken on. So we've again developed a working group, and each one of these architects are focusing on a specific activity to promote timber construction in University of Pretoria. So we've already established 3 working groups at UP, and we are planning to expand that in the near future. Here are a couple of examples of practical courses that we've developed in collaboration with industry partners. So what we've done is we've identified in this case, 2 industry partners, which I'll show now, that has got a lot of experience when it comes to designing and building timber buildings. And we've arranged with them that they present training courses to architectural and later also civil engineering students. The reason we took this approach is, again, like I said, as the open innovation approach. We identified that there are people outside the University of Pretoria that do have a lot of knowledge, and let's rather work together and collaborate to get the benefits, which otherwise would have been difficult. So these are 2 of the first groups that attended the training courses. This is a group that went to a training course at Raw Modular. I'll also, once I've finished the presentation, share the video of this course so that you can see what they did. And in these courses, what they did is they had a problem where they had to develop a conceptual structure. They went through a phase of conceptual design, detailed design, pilot project, and then they scaled it up. So they went through the whole design and construction phase that you would typically expect engineers or architects to do in the real world. This is the second course that we presented at Earthworld. And this is the second and third courses that we presented at Raw Modular. And in this case, what the students had to do is they had to develop a scaled version of a building. And this was a practical problem, actually, that we have with presenting the course. So the course is presented on a farm outside of Pretoria, and there's limited or actually no accommodation for the students during the course. So the challenge of the course was that they had to develop like what we call a nano timber unit where the students can sleep in the future. So obviously they won't be able to sleep in this small building, but this is a 1:3 scale building of what will be built. And we are currently in the process of building those full scale buildings. So the next group of students will then stay in a building that was designed by the previous group. We also collaborated on a timber design competition, and this is the winner, Shannon Govender. She won the first York Timbers design competition. We are also collaborating with international research institutes and also companies. We have a collaboration agreement with Barbara, and then we're currently collaborating on a research project with Rosenheim, and we also frequently engage with Ergodomus. These are some of our local partners that we are collaborating either in research or training or some other format. These are some of the student projects that they completed this year, the architectural students. We also feel it's important to have samples at the university to show students what does CLT actually look like. So this is an example of a pine CLT, and then eucalyptus or combi eucalyptus and pine CLT. We are also starting to do more material tests. For example, we plan to collaborate with Rotoblast on screw withdrawal tests. There are some bending tests that we've been doing. Then we're also planning to expand the amount of students that we are including in the program. We started off in 2021 or 2022 with, let's say, 1 or 2 students. We grew that to 13 students in 2023, and we had to increase it to 31 research students in 2024. These are some of the conferences and exhibitions that we've participated in. 2 of my students will be presenting at the 17th Built Environment Conference next week. And then there were 2 students also presenting their research at the IAMOT conference in Brazil earlier this year. These are 2 of the students and 1 of the lecturers that attended the IAMOT conference. Then we also hosted the inaugural Timber Construction Conference, which was an industry, academia, and government collaboration. We had more than 200 people attending this conference. We had the Dean of UP's EBIT faculty, some industry partners, and then also Deputy Minister at the DTIC that presented at the conference. The conference was built up of a research colloquium, a workshop, and a conference and exhibition. And we're planning to have another conference on the 9th and 10th of September 2024. So we would love to see you there. We're also using media networks, for example, YouTube for webinars and engineering news, which is quite popular in the engineering field in South Africa, to promote timber construction. We hope that you will join our social media groups, which include the Timber Construction South Africa group in LinkedIn, and then also the Facebook group. Then University of Stellenbosch developed this training course, which you are welcome to also go to. So this is an online platform where you can do any of these courses, and they are free. And you will get a certificate after completing the questionnaire. So this is again initiative by another partner of ours to promote timber construction in South Africa. And yes, that's my presentation. I will also now shortly share the links to some of the websites in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so very much, Dr. Shaw Gobela. It's been a very interesting 1 hour, 50 minutes thereabouts. We've got these interesting presentations that we have had today. Just so in the next few minutes, we will be taking a recap of the presentations that we have had. The first one from Engineer Mohammed Zugaya, and the other one from Dr. Shaw Gobela. I will be inviting architect Abiodun Fatui to do a recap for us. And I would also encourage that participants can put your queries, your questions in the chat box so that we can present them to the presenters after the recap. Thank you very much. Architect Abiodun Fatui, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Architect Moradike. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Okay. So it's been a very lovely afternoon. The first speaker, Engineer Mohanad Zugaya, actually blew our minds off, speaking about the opportunities for mass timber in Nigeria, especially Lagos and Abuja. He spoke about his company, Rotoblast, and introduced a lot of what they do, how they support timber construction through frames, external structures. They promote mass timber majorly by their arm of the Roto School Training Seminar that also helps in networking and research on mass timber. Online, the Roto School also gives online support for queries and research on mass timber construction. He also highlighted the fact that Nigeria has a very, very close proximity to raw materials for mass timber construction. He spoke about the use of mass timber and how it's a fast-growing material, and it's fast overtaking steel and concrete. He spoke about the durability of timber that makes it and gives it that fast growth. He spoke about the principles of building physics and highlighted on temperature, wind, rainwater, vapor, and insect, which is called woodworm. He said major factors that makes mass timber quite interesting is the fact that it gives you building durability and resistance and proper thermal comfort. He spoke about the dangers that we might face in using mass timber construction, and the first one he said is the interstitial condensation, which is the danger to the structure, and superficial condensation, which is danger to the surface, which comes about by dampness or over time, that happens over time when we use mass timber, especially in the rainforest areas where we find ourselves. That led him to talk about air tightness and wind tightness in mass timber construction. Air tightness, of course, relates to the cool temperature and aids ventilation, while wind tightness directly affects the structure and how strong the building, the joints of the construction needs to be. He spoke about the microporous membrane and moved on by saying wood has a good fire resistance, and that we can even use wood to wrap around steel in construction, which actually which actually surprised me, because I mean that was an eye-opener for me, realizing that the strength of the wood against fire resistance can also protect steel, and it's really interesting to see that in that light. Generally, it's beginning to feel that wood is actually a way stronger material than steel, which is not the idea I had before now, quite interestingly. He listed, finally, while he was rounding up, listed a few of the projects that he looked at, or he worked on, and also likes, which is, he mentioned the Katara Hills. He said just before the World Cup, the container arrived and the whole project took just about 3 months. He also spoke about a very interesting proposal, which I believe by God's grace will see the light of day in Lagos here. Spoke about the Ocean City project and in Lagos, and says it will be, the project has the first world first timber football stadium, which is moving to reality. And he spoke about the HAS project, Brazil project too, and showed us pictures of those projects. And I dare say that pictures were very, very inspiring and interesting. After his speech, after his presentation, we heard from Schalk Grobler, who is based in South Africa, and he was talking about promoting timber construction in South Africa and as it affects us here in Lagos and Abuja, Nigeria. He spoke about different models of timber adoption in construction, and spoke about channels at which we can train and improve ourselves, and also educate others on mass timber construction. The few that I could that interest me or that I felt were critical. I spoke about the frugal innovation and open innovation. He spoke about the 70-20-10 model. He spoke about the diffusion of innovations. He spoke about scale-free networks, fear of missing out, FOMO, which I feel that maybe he should have, I would ask that question, maybe he should have explicit more on that. He also spoke about success breeds success, a model that I feel should work even apart from training for mass timber. Being generally about life, I think is a principle that we should all hold on to. And he told us about the news that has a school where he works has done so many research and how they've been able to attend different conferences. Finally, he mentioned the Wood app, which I found very interesting, where we can find courses on mass timber construction, and they are free, and we can always get the certificate after participating in those courses. I would like to thank the two speakers and hand over to Architect Mo.
Thank you very much, Architect Biodun Fatoyi, for that recap. I hope we were all able to gain something from that. If we have missed out on anything while the speakers were making their presentations, I once again want to thank Engineer Mohana Zugaya for his presentation and Dr. Schalk Grobler for joining us this afternoon. In a minute, I think it would be better for us to do the question and answers so that we don't lose the train of our thoughts before we take a few Google messages. Architect Abimbola, I think you can take over and bring up the questions that have been raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Moradeke Okunibu. We have a few, and good afternoon, participants once more, and thank you for your time that you have spent this afternoon. I want to believe that it has been quite fruitful. We have quite a few comments and questions, and I'll be taking them, and would call on Muhammad Zuraya and Dr. Schalk Grobler to respond to the questions as necessary. The first few comments was very interesting presentations and tremendous presentations. And then Dr. Samuel Pakolade said, good presentation, more details and facts coming up each time. And yes, that is true, because we've had a series of 6 webinars of different topics covering so many areas of the mass timber construction and its processes. Now, Shuaib asked a question. He said, what types of wood can be utilized for mass timber construction? And what are the treatment options for this wood? Well, I believe that most of these questions have been answered in the previous 5 webinars that we have had, and you can access this on our YouTube channel, Mass Timber Construction Nigeria. Then Shuaib Arobulade introduces himself as a doctoral researcher on carbon reduction and construction project Beckett University. So I call on Mohammed and Dr. Shaw to also maybe throw more light for the benefit on the types of wood that can be utilized for mass timber construction and what are the treatment options. Now we have more questions by Yemi Shola Adebi. She's an architect, and she said, when is the team of Rotherblast and Crown Timber Connections arriving Nigeria for the pilot scheme in mass housing, affordable housing, schools, hospitals, and of course, high-rise construction? That is a very, very important question, because we actually are looking forward eagerly to when we can actually start actualizing all the things we have learned over the last 3 months. Now, Shuaib asks again, any thoughts on sustainable timber production in relation to deforestation in Africa, say South Africa or Nigeria as an example? So those are basically the few questions that we have. What are the types of wood? What are the treatment options? When are the teams of Rotherblast and Crown Timber coming to Nigeria for the pilot schemes in mass housing, affordable housing, high-rise schools, hospitals? And what are your thoughts on sustainable timber production in relation to deforestation, Africa? Over to you, Muhammad.
Yeah, thank you so much. Regarding to Rotherblast team, currently we have a local representative engineer, David. He's here also joining us in this meeting. He's local in working locally in Nigeria for the inquiries and supporting the market, working with architects and engineers. So we are working locally currently in Nigeria, and we will be very happy and look forward to contact architects Yemi for go in more the details for their inquiry and to see how we can as Rotherblast support the market. Yeah.
Okay, do you have any suggestions or answers or advice on the kind of types of wood and the treatment options, and also what are your thoughts on sustainable timber production in relation to deforestation? And then we'll also love to hear from Dr. Shaw after you are done.
Regarding to the second questions, I don't have fact information, so I would like to hand over to the doctor. He might have more in forestation and management and sustainability in the wood itself.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes, the sustainability question I cannot answer in Nigeria's case. I'm not that familiar with Nigeria's situation. In South Africa, deforestation is not really an issue. So in South Africa, and I think a lot of the African countries, progressively other African countries in any case, in a situation where most of the timber resources are plantation resources and not natural forests. So Central Africa is obviously a bit different, and I think Nigeria maybe as well. But again, like I said, I can speak for South Africa. South Africa, almost all our timber is sourced from plantations. So it's planted trees. It's not locally, let's say, local trees. It's all eucalyptus or pine trees that are sustainably managed. Most of the forests in South Africa or plantations are FSC Forestry Stewardship Council accredited. I think it's more than 80% of the plantations. So sustainability in South Africa's case is extremely important for most of the forestry companies. And for that reason, deforestation is not really a concern here because it is appropriately managed. There are good control systems in place, and it is the forestry companies believe in sustainability. So deforestation is not really a concern in our case. Like I said, unfortunately, I can't speak for Nigeria. And then in terms of what you can use, I think whatever is locally available. So again, I'm not that familiar with the rest of Africa, but South Africa, we have pine and eucalyptus, and both of them we are busy experimenting with in CLT. In Europe, it's obviously mostly spruce. North America, pine, also a bit of fir and spruce, but pine probably. Australia, pine, and progressively eucalyptus as well. So it's highly determined by what type of species are locally available. I think there are some species that might be difficult to make CLT from, but I think in general, it's basically what is available locally. And then in terms of the treatment, I'm not going to venture to answer that question, but there are definitely experts that know how to treat the timber. And I don't think that it is, I wouldn't say it's a simple problem, but it's a solvable problem. And there are solutions for that. So I'm not the expert in that opinion, but I do know people that are experts.
If I may, I would encourage participants to just watch some of our past webinars because these questions have been dealt with. But because it has come up today, I would like to indulge Mr. Ibuku, who is a forester and is in Nigeria and obviously more familiar with the species we have in Nigeria, to just chip in a word. Mr. Fallow, please.
Thank you very much, Architect Mo. Thank you very much. Now, when looking at the good thing with mass timber is that you don't necessarily require hardwood to produce mass timber. In fact, the bulk of mass timber is produced with using softwood with rapid growth and as highlighted earlier on, sustainably managed plant forests. Again, it is mandatory that certification is mandatory. In other words, we have to look at the FSC, which is the Forest Stewardship Council, the PEFC, and in North America, you will see the SFI, which is the Sustainable Forestry Initiative. These are sustainability organizations across the world. But in this part of the world, the FSC seems to be more relevant to us. Now, in Nigeria, we have species. There's a species that is called Antiaris. The local name is Oriro. It is going to be excellent for mass timber because it glues very, very well. There's also Triplochiton scleroxylon, otherwise called Obeche. Obeche will do very well for mass timber. There is the Terminalia superba, otherwise called Afara. Afara will do very well for mass timber, and quite a few others which are excellent. Now, fortunately, in Nigeria, we have a Nigerian who works with, and she's based in North America. She's based in the Massachusetts State University. She's undergoing her doctorate degree at the moment. And she actually is in charge of their mass timber lab. Now, we have consulted with her, and she has advised that if we can get blocks of timber, those I've mentioned, even Saber. Saber too will be very good for mass timber. The local name for Saber is Araba. If we can get blocks of these to her at 2 feet by 4, she will be prepared to run a test for us in their lab. And at the end of that, convert them to mass timber products, and then see what they can, how they can stand up to load, to become load bearing beams, columns, and stuff like that. We are now at the point of she's to freight them to her in Massachusetts so she can conduct a proper analysis to see how suitable, which of them will be suitable for CLT, which is cross-laminated timber, which will be suitable for glulam, which is the glue laminated timber, and which will be suitable for LVL, which is a laminated veneer lumber, which I personally think will be very, very applicable to us in Nigeria. Don't forget, there's also the NLT, which is the nail laminated timber. There's the DLT, which is the dual laminated timber. All these are mass timber products. So I know that eucalyptus will thrive very well here. Take note that eucalyptus doesn't require too much rainfall. So it will thrive excellently well in the Middle Belt. Kogi State, Benue State, Niger State, these are areas with vast amounts of land. So we can go into growing eucalyptus at scale. So, and in as much as we are prepared to implement sustainable forestry management, which wasn't implemented in the past in managing the natural forest, I don't see a problem with sustainability, with provision of the basic raw material, which is wood. So going by this, I think we have a very bright prospects, especially with Rotoblas and the rest of them, Green Resources, which operates mainly in East Africa, but are looking for inroads into the Nigerian market because they see Nigeria, they see our huge population, and they know that this huge population will definitely have to be housed. And with climate change, with the world moving away from steel and concrete, even though the engineer Zugaya said, of course, there's opportunity for hybrid construction. I think the prospects in Nigeria are excellently and very, very bright. So I think, yes, we just have to coordinate ourselves and know how to go about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagoye. I think this particular webinar is looking at the opportunities for mass timber. I would not just say the timber or construction, but the total economy in Nigeria. Architect Abimbola, do we have any other questions that have not been answered?
Yes, we have. Yes,
okay.
Yes, we have. From Evelyn Alu Kanku, she's a professor in the University of Jos. She said, "Hi everyone. Is it possible to have recorded copies of the past webinars?" Yes, we answered the question earlier that we have the recordings of the past webinars on YouTube. And yes, that's it. Architect.
Okay, thank you very much. I noticed that Engineer David Ojela is online. Can you just say what? I think you're Muhammad's partner and representative in Nigeria. We need to get to know you, sir. Engineer David, please unmute yourself. Hello, Engineer David Ojela. Would you unmute yourself and just give us a word? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you for the opportunity. I think I've been following the series of mass timber construction in Nigeria, since it began, and it's been very enlightening. And Rotoblast is ready, and we are here in Nigeria spreading the news about mass timber construction. And we're ready to transfer all of that, technical know-how and offer all the support we can to ensure that whoever is interested in building with wood, building in mass timber, has the available resources they need to, accomplish their task. So it's very great having, this session put together for us to, interact and discover, new things about this new construction technology. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, David. I think I should just jump in your face and tell you that there's a likelihood that groups of people might be inviting you to speak, so that we can have physical interaction with you in this area. We'll move on very quickly. We have just a few minutes left on our time for today. We have some distinguished guests with us. May I call on Architect Yemi Shoadebi to just give us a word? Thank you. She leads the architects in the FCT. Architect Yemi.
Thank you very much, Captain Moradike, for the excellent moderation. Also to thank the mass timber construction team for the great job you are doing, and also our presenters for today, the engineer Muhammad and Dr. Chuck Grobella. It's been a very educative and a very exciting presentation. And back to back in the last 3 months, we're just hoping that everything that we discussed over the last 3 months, in the last 6 series of webinar, we'll be able to see the reality of it on ground in Nigeria. We are based in Abuja and be very excited to have those pilot schemes in Abuja, like mentioned in my early, as David Majepodomi, Chair, because with very fruitful results after this.
Very interesting. Thank you, Architect Yemi. I'll also call on Architect David Majepodomi, who is one of the facilitators of the mass timber resources. Architect David, can you give us a word?
Yeah, thank you very much, Architect Moradike. It's been a wonderful session. And being the 6th, though the last series of the webinar, I believe maybe we might still need to do a very bigger one. But on this note, let me say a big thank you to Mohad, Zongaja, and Chuck Grobella. Thank you very much for this educative session. And we're looking forward to partnering with you and make timber construction a reality in Nigeria. And to Mr. Faloye and all the other caucus members in organizing this, thank you very much. And we're looking forward to our next, maybe bigger event. Might not just be a webinar, but it might be a kind of an hybrid session. Thank you very much. And God bless. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Architect Dave. We have an international man amongst us. He's one of us, and he has graced us with his presence today. Architect Olanrewaju Olushola is the treasurer of the African Union of Architects. He is the chairperson in charge of international affairs of the Nigerian Institute of Architects. He is the director at large of the American Institute of Architects. He is auxiliary is a lot of things. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Architect Moradeke Okunreboye, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I happen to be one who follow ardently the innovation of or re-innovation of mass timber in Nigeria by this group, and I am always grateful that people are doing things that are sustainable in the built environment. We really want to see and support how this goes, and take these not just in Nigeria, beyond Nigeria, into the rest of Africa and beyond. We thank especially our colleagues from South Africa, who seem to have gone ahead in a lot of ways, because I see every time I come to this webinar, most of the speakers are from South Africa. That means they have really done a whole lot of work in rejuvenating what we used to know when we were growing up. I remember growing up in Southwest Nigeria. Most of the buildings that we saw, both single level or multi-level houses, are predominantly made with timber. Now, whether that is the same thing we're talking about right now or something else is another matter for discussion. So, but I know that there must be a win-win situation for us to be pursuing this course, and I wish that we are able to embrace and enjoy the benefits over and above the non-sustainable methods of building construction that we are engaging in at the moment. So I want to thank you very much. And I want to say that I look forward to seeing more of the innovations and revelations in these webinars and every other program by the Wood Expo group. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Architect Larry. If I may, while we acknowledge the Wood Expo synergies, who are one of the supporters of this program, this whole idea is owned by the Mass Timber Resources Nigeria. It's a group of professionals who are looking into the economy of mass timber in Nigeria. And they are putting together a program whereby Nigeria can, engage through the whole value chain of mass timber, right from the seedling to the buildings. We're looking at, even engaging with development of curriculum in schools. We're looking at, being able to put up policies and codes and stuff like that that can regulate the practice and of mass timber construction in Nigeria. We're looking at engaging in afforestation, or should I say sustainable forestation, and everything along the chain. There are other things that are include agroforestry. There are Mohammed is here, is talking to us about fasteners for mass timber. We're looking at manufacturing, all kinds of things. And today we have been, the presentations have talked to us about the opportunities in sales, opportunities in trainings and seminars, opportunities in expert networking, opportunities in supply chain, opportunities in research, opportunities in monitoring and evaluating, programs with regard to mass timber. These are the things that have been open to us today, and we hope that you would come again when we have the next set of series of webinars on mass timber construction in Nigeria. And I would direct our attention to the links that have been posted in the chat groups. I would also like to confirm that certificates of participation will be sent to all participants at all of the 6 webinars. I believe we will also, if you do look at the links, you can have access to previous webinars. If you need to download anything, they're made available. And we would like to encourage that, people who continue to like to network and make connections with people, especially Nigerians, and encourage that we come together to develop this material, this mass timber, go into the technology, look at developing that new material, and begin to reinvent ourselves in the area of construction. It's a very innovative material, and we would like to collaborate with anybody and everybody in this regard. Let's develop something. Now, we must recognize that the economy is opening up. There must be ways in which we can engage within our system and even be able to go out. After Larry had mentioned that a lot has obviously been done in South Africa. When I was looking at listening to Dr. Shaw, he was, the number of people who have even been here at our webinars, companies who have been here, or should I say representatives of companies who have joined us, in past webinars, whose logos I saw on some of those collaborations that even they are having in South Africa. And indeed, if we can go to South Africa, if we can go to East Africa or other parts of Africa, to engage and collaborate, why do we need to go much further out there? Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and participating in the webinar today. We look forward to seeing you again very soon when we will be releasing the next set of webinars and indeed trainings. It will gladden our hearts to know that there are people who want to, take up on some of these opportunities that have been presented, so that we can go a little deeper and see how much of this that we can take out of this country. Thank you again. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.